Hell is a Teenage Girl. The early 2000s was prime time for teen movies. We saw classics like High School Musical, Bring It On, and Mean Girls.
Is butter a carb?
All of which centered around high school, a time some of us look back on fondly and others not so fondly. Jennifer's Body was in stark contrast to these films, where the characters' biggest struggles were their perceived high school social ranking. Jennifer's Body is a female revenge movie marketed as a teen comedy, and its themes were far more advanced than its perceived audience was ready for. It is an exaggerated version of the horrors, or hell, of being a teenage girl. Jennifer's Body is a 2009 horror comedy starring Megan Fox as popular girl turned demon-possessed Jennifer Check.
I am going to eat your soul and shit it out,
who goes about killing boys after being sacrificed by indie band Low Shoulder under the false pretense that she was a virgin. This film was considered a box office bomb, and Fox, alongside director Karen Kusama and writer Diablo Cody, received criticism for their parts in making this movie. One of the main factors that contributed to its poor ratings was the movie's marketing efforts, which targeted the wrong demographic. A movie about the struggles of navigating a complicated teen-girl relationship was marketed to boys. Today we will be discussing Megan Fox's career and portrayal of the complex character Jennifer Check and her relationship with her best friend and the film's narrator, Needy Lesnicki, played by Amanda Seyfried. A relationship that was marketed as jerk-off material, in reality offers us an intimate look at girlhood, love, and revenge. Welcome back to Silver Screen Queens, a deep dive into the portrayal of women on screen. Warning, there are spoilers in today's episode as well as mentions of violent themes and Grape. Viewer discretion is advised. A brief summary of the movie for those who haven't seen it or to refresh your memory. Nerdy Needy and Jennifer Check are unlikely friends, but they have a special connection that dates back to the sandbox, aka childhood.
Sandbox love never dies.
Jennifer and Needy go out one night to see indie band Low Shoulder play at their local venue, Melody Lane, as Jennifer is obsessed with lead singer Nikolai. The venue erupts in flames mid-set, killing and injuring countless patrons. Jennifer and Needy make it out, only for Jennifer to get in Low Shoulder's van and leave Needy behind. Big mistake, as Low Shoulder ends up being truly evil and uses Jennifer as a sacrificial lamb in their ritual to sell their souls to the devil for fame. The ritual involves a virgin, but oops, Jennifer isn't a virgin. And Jennifer comes back for revenge by killing any boy she can sink her teeth into. The original trailer for Jennifer's Body opens up on a shot of Jennifer swimming nude in a lake, followed by a montage of clips of Jennifer and Needy spliced with text that reads, quote, "In every school, there's one girl every girl wants to be friends with, and every boy would die for." This trailer seems to depict the cliches of high school social status, depicting the popular girl as evil, all while leaving out the context for why she's evil. It also shows queer moments of the film, like Jennifer and Needy kissing at a sleepover, and Jennifer telling Needy she goes both ways, with little context either. Of course, most movie trailers lack context on purpose, as a strategy to get you to watch the film. But the lack of context here makes Jennifer's Body seem like a typical high school movie a la Mean Girls, with some girl-on-girl action thrown in to entice male viewers. And this was very intentional. Coming at the heels of Fox's performance in Transformers, Jennifer's Body was marketed as a sexy thriller starring the sexy Megan Fox. Jennifer's Body was distributed by 20th Century Fox as part of their short-lived mini-studio Fox Atomic, whose goal was to market movies to teens on online sites like MySpace and YouTube. Director Karen Kusama and writer Diablo Cody had little say in how this movie was marketed. In an interview with BuzzFeed, Kusama said, quote, "I kept sort of reminding everybody, guys, we can't market this movie to boys and then have them go to the theater expecting one thing, and then seeing Megan Fox not really take off her clothes, but rip a guy's intestines out and eat them." End quote. About the audience it was intended for, Diablo Cody said, quote, "I wrote it for girls. If a guy wrote a movie with the line, 'Hell is a teenage girl,' I would reject that. but I'm allowed to say it because I was one. I think the fact that we were a female creative team gave us permission to make observations about some of the more toxic aspects of female friendship." End quote. In Jennifer's Body, the typical high school cliches of popular girls and nerdy girls the trailer seems to depict are challenged. Needy and Jennifer have a genuine friendship. Though it is strained by complicated feelings, they deeply care for one another. Even other characters in the film have a hard time believing in the sincerity of their friendship. Chip, Needy's boyfriend, says to Needy before she goes out that fateful night with Jennifer, quote, "You guys don't have anything in common." Additionally, the cliches or, quote, rules of a final girl are challenged. One of the most prominent features of a final girl throughout the history of the horror movie genre has been her innocence and virginity. Needy is clearly not a virgin, which becomes crystal clear through a cringe-worthy sex scene between her and her boyfriend Chip. This challenges the assumption of being a nerd as well as a final girl. The label of virgin is perhaps one of the movie's most successful subversions. Needy is spared by Low Shoulder because they assume she's not a virgin, while lead singer Nikolai insists that Jennifer is a virgin because he grew up around girls like Jennifer who, quote, "love to show it off, but they do not give it up." We start off the film with a shot of Needy spying through Jennifer's window and then cut to Needy in a mental hospital. At this point, the viewer assumes that Jennifer is the victim while Needy is crazy. The history of women in mental hospitals is, of course, rooted in sexism. In the later 19th to the early 20th century, the male-dominated medical industry resulted in many women being admitted for insanity. In Chiara Pruitt's essay, Institutionalizing Femininity, she states, quote, "There was no true checklist of symptoms of insanity. Rather, a woman's institutionalization was frequently at the whim of her husband or male relative's choice to declare her insane." End quote. Was Needy really insane? Is she an unreliable narrator? Or did Karen Kusama and Diablo Cody aim to critique the long-standing history of wrongful institutionalization? On the Jennifer's Body commentary track, Diablo Cody says, quote, "There's a grand tradition of narrators in mental hospitals." And Karen Kusama adds, quote, "And there's a grand tradition of women in mental hospitals who shouldn't be there." The romance between Needy and Jennifer has been misconstrued as girl-on-girl action for the male gaze. Kira Chakran from The Guardian writes about the movie, quote, "Kusama says there was subversive intent in the kiss between the two female leads, but for many it will just look like two hot girls kissing." End quote. There is a lot of hinting at queerness throughout the film. A classmate calls Needy lesbi gay, and Jennifer tells Needy she goes both ways. In the scene where Jennifer surprises Needy in bed, the two share a kiss. Unlike Chakran's interpretation of the scene, the kiss is genuine and intimate. This is also the scene where Jennifer tells Needy about what happened in the woods with Low Shoulder that night, saying, quote, "I woke up and I found my way back to you." If anything, the two share some sort of psychic connection, whether that be from a shared bond or an unknown force. This becomes apparent when Jennifer kisses Chip and Needy, all alone at the spring formal, brings a hand to her mouth as if she can feel the kiss too. Alternatively, we can also view this kiss scene as a deepening of a bond, whether that be romantic or friendship. We don't have to specify. But since this is the scene where Jennifer tells Needy the truth about what happened with Low Shoulder, she is incredibly vulnerable. And to insinuate that this was just, again, girl-on-girl action for the male gaze is wrong. The kiss is a culmination of vulnerability and intense feelings. Kira Chakran also stated in her review of the movie, quote, "As its title suggests, the film revolves around one woman's physique." End quote. I interpret the title Jennifer's Body not as superficial, but as a statement of reclamation. Jennifer's body was literally violated in the film. It is the inciting incident after which all hell breaks loose. But her rage is justified. Her abusers got what they wanted from the sacrifice. They become a semi-successful indie band, while she has to live as the undead, consumed by rage as her classmates praise the band's music. And in a subtle and moving scene, as Jennifer gets ready for the spring formal, she messily rubs foundation all over her face, tears welling up in her sunken eyes. In this moment, the real Jennifer emerges, and we can see she's not all monster. All right, the drink I'm gonna make Jennifer check is a pink gin 75, which is like a French 75, but we're gonna call it a Melody Lane because that's cuter than pink gin 75. So I have rhubarb and strawberry gin, and I know you might think like I'm a gin hater, because of the last episode. But I don't really mind gin if it's mixed with something sweet. Shot of strawberry rhubarb gin. A pink gin 75 says grapefruit juice. I hate grapefruit juice, so I'm gonna use cranberry juice. We're just winging it, as always. Again, not a bartender. Sure, I don't know. I don't know if you're supposed to put that in after, before, fucking that. Who cares? This is my show. I have to hold it like this precariously because it's missing the cap. Then we have our glass. Oh my God, this glass is so gross. Oh my God, it's dirty, it's dusty. What is in here? Who did this? Who did this? It's fine, whatever. So pretty. We're gonna top it off with some Prosecco. Love. I just almost pushed that off the chair. I'll get that later. What the? Okay. Top it off with some Prosecco. Gorgeous. I feel like Jennifer Check likes a maraschino sherry, right? Like, first of all, I do. So that's why I'm doing it. Let's get one. Yep. That one had the perfect stem, but this one's good too. Plop. And here we have our Melody Lane cocktail. It's good. Maybe cranberry juice was like the wrong choice, but I mean, it's still good. It's just like a little bit tartar than I thought it would be, but it's pretty, and that's all that matters. Just kidding. Megan Fox's controversy while filming Transformers overshadowed her talent in this role. About working with director Michael Bay, Fox made a comment to Wonderland magazine that, quote, "He's like Napoleon, and he wants to create this insane, infamous madman reputation. He wants to be like Hitler on his sets, and he is, so he's a nightmare to work for," end quote. Fox was then under fire for being outspoken, a quality seen as negative in women, especially if they are critiquing a man in power. I don't know when Michael Bay became an untouchable public figure, but I think the public outcry was uncalled for. Jennifer Check as a character is extremely outspoken. She tells it like it is and grabs life by the balls.
You gonna cuff me?
Oh, don't do that.
Fox herself challenges societal cliches. If a woman is pretty, she certainly can't be funny, and God forbid she's smart. But Fox is quick-witted with comedic timing, and she just happens to be attractive. Because of this obsession over her looks, she was typecast as the sex symbol in previous projects. But in this role as Jennifer Check, she really shows her acting chops. Jennifer is funny yet sincere. She always has quick remarks like, "PMS isn't real, needy. It was invented by the boy-run media to make us seem like we're crazy." At the TIFF press conference for Jennifer's Body, Megan Fox talks about her decision to join the cast of this movie.
The scripts I was usually getting offered were like not of this caliber. They were, like the straight to DVD where your wardrobe consists of a bikini and that's about it. Like, that's the kind of shit I was coming across, and then I was lucky to get this script.
During the sacrifice scene, as Jennifer pleads with the boys not to kill her, the desperation Fox is able to convey is the mark of a well-skilled actress. Jennifer Check is a difficult character to convey successfully. She is victim turned killer, so the audience empathizes with her while simultaneously squirming at the sight of her as monster. This sacrifice scene in particular situates Jennifer's Body as a Grape revenge film. While the men of Low Shoulder do not explicitly grape Jennifer, they kidnap her, drive her out to the woods in an 89 rapist, as Needy says, and invade her body without her consent. Throughout the history of slasher movies, guns are not the weapon of choice for the killer. Stuart Kaminsky, in his book American Film Genres, says about the use of weapons in slasher films, quote, "Knives and needles, like teeth, beaks, fangs, and claws, are personal extensions of the body that bring attacker and attacked in primitive, animalistic embrace," end quote. In an earlier Grape revenge slasher movie, 1978's I Spit on Your Grave, Jennifer Hill originally pulls a gun on one of her abusers, only to later castrate him in the tub. She plucks off her abusers one by one, but each time using a weapon that involves close proximity to her abusers. In Jennifer's Body, Jennifer Check's weapon of choice is also one that requires close proximity, her teeth, which she uses to rip out guys' intestines. Not only is Jennifer's Body a Grape revenge movie, but like 1978's I Spit on Your Grave, I think it's also a slasher movie. But Jennifer's Body challenges the traditional slasher film, like 1978's I Spit in Your Grave does, because the killer is female. In Carol J. Clover's book, Men, Women, and Chainsaws, she explains the motive of a female killer. Quote, "Nor is their motive overtly psychosexual. Their anger derives in most cases not from childhood experience, but from specific moments in their adult lives in which they have been abandoned or cheated by men." End quote. This is where Jennifer Check becomes such a complicated character. Her victims, as far as we can tell, are innocent. Their only crimes being boys. When we think of the killings in I Spit on Your Grave, Jennifer Hill's motive is more clear-cut. She is killing her abusers. Jennifer Check does not kill the members of Low Shoulder. Her victims seem both random but also targeted. Perhaps these victims remind her, whether physically or emotionally, of one of the members of Low Shoulder. But nonetheless, you can't help but feel deep sorrow for her as she goes on her killing spree. In both of these movies, the main female character is victim turned killer. But while Jennifer Hill makes it out victorious, Jennifer Check gets a box cutter through the heart.
You know what this is for? It's for cutting boxes.
The movie ends on the scene it begins on, Jennifer sitting in her room. Needy crashes through the window and mounts Jennifer, armed with anger and a box cutter. Jennifer bites Needy and the two tumble in a mid-air fight. I guess demons can float. And Needy rips the friendship necklace off of Jennifer's neck. Jennifer floats back down to the bed, this act seeming more personal and violent to Jennifer than the one that follows. A box cutter stabbed in her heart. Here are the two weapons that were used, teeth and box cutter, align with Stuart Kaminsky's interpretation of weapons in slasher movies. Both require close proximity. This scene is disturbingly intimate. It parallels the kissing scene that came earlier in the film and solidifies the queerness of the movie. It is not a coincidence that this embrace happens in Jennifer's bed. And when Jennifer's mom opens her door to see her daughter bleeding, Needy on top of her, the scene reads as parent walking in on you mid-sex act. The writer of Jennifer's Body, Diablo Cody, who we can thank for 2007's Juno, as well as the more recent Lisa Frankenstein, rose to fame following the success of her memoir, Candy Girl, a year in the life of an unlikely stripper. After the success of Juno, it seemed like people wanted Diablo Cody to fail. People became more fixated on her work as a stripper than her work as a screenwriter. Vulture magazine published headlines in 2008 that seemed to mock Diablo Cody's openness about her past, such as, "Hey, did you know that Diablo Cody used to be a stripper?" Cody, like Fox, had elements from her past overshadow her talent on working on this film. Though critics and peers bashed her online and people were eager to label her a one-hit wonder, we now know the script of Jennifer's Body was full of care and passion and should never have been disregarded because of its poor marketing. In 2019, Megan Fox and Diablo Cody sat down to discuss the movie.
Well, I have to say there was an era, I make it sound like it was 100 years. There was a time when it was painful for me to talk about Jennifer's Body because, you know, that movie was a commercial failure.
Yeah.
And like, I was savaged personally. It wasn't just having a professional failure. And so it was hard, and I had written about it a lot, and I had talked about, I've actually gone through therapy because of that experience. And now, 10 years later, I genuinely love talking about it. I'm so happy to be here talking with you about it. But I think part of that is because we're being validated now.
Yeah.
People suddenly, the movie has suddenly found its audience.
Yeah.
The late 2010s saw a new appreciation for Jennifer's Body, which many credit to the Me Too movement, which gained traction on social media in 2017. In a 2018 interview with Todd Vanderwerf, Diablo Cody says, quote, "The interesting thing about #MeToo as a new phenomenon is that for those of us who've been living that, it's strange, because it's not new, obviously. That movie was very much about the issues that women face and about the feeling of being powerless and about the feeling of wanting to turn the tables." End quote. Maybe this film needed a fresh avenue of distribution to find its target audience, many of whom are queer women, and it found that through social media. Though the path to acceptance was long, Jennifer's Body has established itself as a cult classic. It is a clever film that balances horrific topics with witty dialogue and is full of endearing and complicated characters. And in the age where women's bodies are continually politicized and threatened, I think that people are going to find solace in this movie even more. Thank you for tuning in to Silver Screen Queens, and that's all, folks.